funny. So I don't mind at all sharing, you know. At the time, it probably wasn't funny. We did not like each other at all. We met on a blind date, and neither one of us really liked the other after that date. But we hung around with the same group of friends back in the day, and over a period of a year, we got to know each other a little better, and we actually double dated, each with another partner one evening, and that was a little strange, but it was fun. It was about a year later. Joe was just about getting ready to get out of the Air Force, so he was finishing up his 4-year term. And there was a local hangout where all the kids that age went most weekends. And one night we just seemed to look at each other and, he's not so bad, you know. He did the same thing, and he asked if he could call me during the week for a date the next weekend, and I agreed, and he never called. So I didn't think too highly of that. I was a little upset with him, but the next time we met, he came over and started a conversation, and I just asked him why he hadn't called. He didn't have a dime. It was the end of the month. He hadn't received his paycheck yet, and he was broke. So that was his reason. But all the little silly things like that you remember, you know, that lead up. But we started dating, and over a period of 3 or 4 months, he asked me to marry him just before he got out of the service. Then he took a job at GE. He was going to Syracuse. We were on the Dry Hill Air Bay. He was in Watertown at the time. That's how I met him. I had just finished my education in hairdressing, and I went back home and lived at home and worked at home while we were dating. It was a spur of the moment thing. Again, we were looking for a house out in the suburbs again. We had moved into Schenectady, and we were there for about 3 years, and we just weren't happy down there. So we decided to look again, come back out to the suburbs, and find a home that we liked. And the real estate agent that was taking us around had to stop at his office to get some information, and he left his book of residences that were for sale in the seat, and we were looking through it while we were waiting for him, and we saw a picture of this farm in there. And when he saw the amount of land that went with it, it was 123 acres of land that was being sold with that. And that was it. When the fellow came back out, Joe talked with him, and he didn't think it would be a suitable place for us. We had the 3 boys by then. We were a young family, but the house was an absolute wreck. He thought we were not going to like the residents on this property. And there were about 20 junk cars parked in the side yard here all around the barn. He was a stock car driver or something and used all these cars for parts. You know how guys are. And we told him we wanted it. He came over and showed it. He brought us out and showed it to us. And it was a dump from the curb to the last of the 123 acres. It was a neglected farm. at the time. It was a dairy farm at one time, and the wife of the dairyman died, and he just kind of let it go, and he eventually rented it out, and he moved to Florida. So then we bought it. So and that's how it all started. That was in 1970, the end of the year, just before Christmas. No. Yep, we moved in on February 1st of 71. And everything's in pictures from then on. So they liked it out here. They liked the town, because when we first moved to this area around Schenectady, we bought a home in Charlton, the town of Charlton. But we only lived, it was in a development with surrounded with homes and no privacy in your back. There's just, Joe wasn't happy in a development type living. So we moved to Schenectady of all things. But there the whole back of our property there were no homes or anything built yet. It was all woods, and that kind of made the choice for him in Schenectady. But it didn't last long, because city living is different than country living. So back out to the farm we came, and he was happy here. The kids loved it, because they had Bob started school in Charlton. And so he was happy to come back, because he could see his old friends. And the two younger ones had other friends too, but they were preschool back then. But yeah, and then there was a lot of work out here. So, yeah. The boys helped him with most everything, and they just seemed more content, at ease, enjoying life out here than they did anywhere else. So it was just a good place for them to be, and they learned so much more. So they liked helping their dad when he was working on the house initially. We just about rebuilt the whole house. And the first thing we did was fill in the stone foundation. It was an old house, and the initial foundation from the ground up about 4 feet was all dirt-packed stone. But when we bought it, the original house had burned down. So when they rebuilt the house, they didn't rebuild it. They brought another house from down the street up the road, and they raised the cellar walls with the cement blocks. So we have stone on the bottom and the blocks on top, and then the house. And the dirt packing on the stone allowed critters to get in often. So one of the first things Joe did to this house was fill all that cellar wall in with cement. So we would have a closed-in cellar there. My youngest one was Jim. He was kind of the one that would get in trouble if there was trouble to be had. When we tore down the roof off the house here, we threw all the junk out in the field on the other side of the barn. And of course, it was all the old siding and nails and everything. And by that time, I had already started the beauty shop, so I was in working. And all of a sudden I started hearing him screaming and yelling, and he needed help, and it sounded urgent. So I ran outside and screamed at him, and I could tell where he was from. He was out in the field by the other side of the barn, and he had stepped on a nail that went through his foot in that pile of wood that he shouldn't have been on. So, but he survived. He got a shot and and everything. But he was one that would always get into little situations like that. So,
Wow.
But Joe, when Joe was closer to teen years, 13, 14 or so, he developed an interest in bees, and he started a beehive business. And there was an older man who approached my husband, Joe, and asked if he could set some beehives along the hedgerows in the field, and he let him do it. And his name was Mr. Newton. He helped teach Joe how to deal with bees and everything. And he made the honey. He bought an extractor and extracted the honey out of the hives. And
this is
Daddy Joe did not like bees. That was not his favorite thing. No, he's going to deal in farming. He's going to have a cow or something, not a bee. He rebuilt a '68 Camaro from scratch, just about, and he and his dad worked on it together, off and on. So that was another big interest of his. But Bobby, he enjoyed life. He was willing to try anything once, and he liked a lot of things. He was good in sports. He built himself a pole vaulting pit out the side yard here, and he got himself a pole vaulting pole, and practiced right here. Was on the school team, and the school offered pole vaulting classes or whatever. But he had to go to Rhode Island to get involved in it. So the school team, I guess, all got together and they went. And he came back with his pole vaulting pole.
He was pretty good at pole vaulting, wasn't he?
He was good. Yeah. Bob was good in his drawing too. And Jim's the one that's really known for his artwork. But Bob rather can draw a pretty good picture, and he drew one of him from pictures taken of him pole vaulting. And he had 4 different poses of pole vaulting. So he's got that picture somewhere. He took excellent care of his property, and he was known for his hay. He had good horse hay, which was important to horse people. So, and he made a lot of friends through that. They appreciated the efforts that he put in to making it a good product. And he loved doing it, except each one of the boys, Bob, Joe, and Jim, always bring out the fact that Dad got angry at God when it rained on his hay. They teased him about it, but and it would usually, not all the time, just after he cut the hay, we'd get a rainstorm. So sometimes it wasn't so bad, but sometimes he'd have to break out that wagon load of hay and rebale it because it was too wet. So, but he would do it to get the hay. He's kind of a self-taught man, that Joe is. So he could teach himself almost anything. So you should see some of the charts he's kept. He has a list in there of every car he's ever owned and what he did with it. So things like that. He's a list keeper. The boys had a lot of respect for him. We did not do a lot of fun things together because he was so busy working, and that that kind of made me sad because it was part of the enjoyment of having children and growing up and everything. But he spent so much time doing the work. He didn't have enough time to play, and that's sad. So, but I think that's basically the only regret any of us would ever have, because they certainly have a lot of respect for Dad. Yeah. They may not like each other, but they like their dad. We were married over 60 years, and there were ups and downs. Most marriages have them, but you work at it, and if God's in the picture, you're going to make it. When he found out that he had cancer, he went back to the pond, and he sat down by a tree there, and he was praying, and he said that God actually talked to him there, and he actually changed when he came back from that walk. He was so much at peace, and he made it through those last 3 years, 3, whatever, and he just seemed content. He wasn't worried about anything. He was able to enjoy people more. God had changed his heart, and he just went to sleep. He had very little pain, and God was good. He was a good father. He was a good husband, and I felt very lucky, very fortunate to have him. So, and I think each of the boys did too.